This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we are back for yet another Powerpuffed tale. This time, yes, kicking butts, taking names, destroying the town,
yes,
etc., etc. And yes, and today's tale will be from Alexis. So, Bert, take us away on whatever violent journey these small children will be getting into. We'll be going.
They will be. They will be. The violence continues yet another week. With the Powerpuff Girls.
It never ends.
It never ends. And I will say, though, I was going to say today's violence is a little bit more contained, but actually, no, it does get a little blown out of proportion by the end of the episode, as we'll see. But the crimes that we're going to examine today, Grace, it's an interesting mixture here. We've got the crimes of bullying, meeting the crimes of toxic pollution and radiation.
Okay.
So it's interesting. The writers are gonna, they tried to sprinkle in a little bit of like environmental protection messaging in this episode, as per usual.
Go to Chernobyl for this episode?
Let's get into it.
Okay. Should we? Okay.
Oh, should we? So no, it does not take place in Chernobyl. We are still in the city of Townsville in Pokey Oaks County, a sleepy suburb of the city of Townsville. And as we've briefly mentioned, I don't think we've actually gone in there yet, but we've mentioned Pokey Oaks Kindergarten. It's a nice, no, we have, that's right, because we had a whole issue with the whole freestanding, standalone preschool, or kindergarten, I mean, just on the outskirts of town. So inside of Pokey Oaks Kindergarten, we see Miss Keene, the girls' teacher, their kindergarten teacher, taking roll call as the students continue working on their morning arts and crafts activity. And I don't think I described Miss Keene, or that we've described her. We've met her yet. So I'll just say she's a pretty big character in the show. She's kind of like the Powerpuff Girls' mother figure, since really they've only got Professor Utonium as their dad. Their quote unquote dad. Their lab dad is
lab daddy.
I think. Yeah. So Miss Keene, she's like this very nice looking, kind of shorter, dark-haired, blue eyes woman. She's just very patient and kind and understanding and protective of her students. It's actually kind of funny because, she's fully aware that the Powerpuff Girls are superheroes. They have the hotline. Everyone is. They have the hotline in the kindergarten. So she's very used to seeing the destruction that happens around the school, like the collateral damage, essentially, but is very good at protecting the other students from all of the danger that the Powerpuff Girls cause, or fight off. So anyway, as Miss Keene is taking roll call, I just have to say some of the names of the students in this classroom. Very funny, just a nod to the writers here. We've got, in addition to the Powerpuff Girls, Julie Bean, Harry Pitt, Wes Going On. We have two twin brothers, Lloyd and Floyd Joydson. We have Mitchelson.
They got tired at the end?
They're like, just keep repeating their names. And last but not least, we actually have who I would like to consider the main character of today's episode.
Oh.
The poor little boy, Elmer Sklew. So, Elmer Sklew.
All right, they got creative at that one. They got it back after Mitch Mitchelson.
They did. They had to bring it back. And you'll see the name Elmer Sklew. This tale is all about him. And the name is very descriptive of who poor little Elmer is. So Elmer, unfortunately, is I guess you would say, social pariah of Pokey Oaks Kindergarten. he's this adorable little nerdy little boy, little kindergartner. He has like this little brown jacket on and jeans and these very big, thick framed glasses. You can't even see his eyes underneath them. He's very pale white, and he's got this like curly queue of hair that kind of just sticks straight up out of his forehead, but also just like it's the same color as his skin. So the animators just like drew it as part of his head, it looks like. But you can tell it's supposed to be this like cute little like cowlick or whatever hair piece on this kindergartner.
It's got a lot of problems going on.
He gets up every morning and he glues that hair piece in. So Elmer, he not only is he bullied because of his like kind of naturally nerdy looks, but he's also very soft-spoken. He has that very like kind of nasally voice and always kind of snorts in between his words and his sentences. But the real reason why Elmer is bullied by his classmates is because he has a strange addiction to eating glue.
Oh my God, he's huffing.
All sorts of, he's huffing. He's beyond huffing. Huffing doesn't quite do it for him anymore. He's at the point where he just has to straight ingest this shit. It has to be taken straight to the head. So Elmer, he unfortunately is always just seen with his hand like deep into a jar of paste, lobbing handfuls of glue into his mouth. It's always all over him, covering him.
This child needs a psychologist.
He does need a psychologist. So it's like on the one hand, he's so adorable and like such a sad little boy because he always looks like his head is always down and you can tell he's always frowning because he's always bullied. But he's bullied because he's making the choice to eat paste all the time. So poor Elmer, he's sitting at the end of this group table of all of the kindergartners at Pokey Oaks. And he's just going to town on this like jar of paste, essentially, just scooping it by the handful into his mouth. And the other students naturally are, as we are grossed out.
Yes.
But they begin to jeer and pick on Elmer and, like calling him paste eater. And Mitchell freaking pushes him over in his chair. So he just,
Mitchelson.
Mitchell, right. Like, get a better name, kid. Then you can maybe be a bully. So the entire class at this point, except for Bubbles and Blossom, begin to point and laugh at poor Elmer as he's on the ground covered in glue.
Of course, Buttercup's doing it.
She is. Buttercup, let me tell you, this is not a good look for her in today's episode. Yes. So Miss Keene, she yells at Mitchell, tells him to go or to, stop all that bullying. And then she goes over and helps Elmer up. But when Elmer attempts to talk back to Miss Keene saying like, oh, I'm all right, instead of like words coming out of his mouth, this big like bubble of glue just kind of comes out of his mouth and like pops in her face. And so the whole class is like freaking out like, so gross. And Miss Keene, though, she's like, class, behave, get back to your projects, go back to your arts and crafts. And Mitchell, though, but she like especially is pointing this to Mitchell, who's like standing up at this point, like in Elmer's face, like, Mitchell, you sit down. What are you doing? So Miss Keene, she steps away from the table. Mitchell sees that she's gone and he decides to lean back into it. He picks up a popsicle stick from their little arts and crafts stuff. And he just like starts sticking it on Elmer's face, like pretending that the stick is him at first. Like, ooh, I'm Elmer. I like to eat gooey paste because I'm stupid. As he's like throwing all these sticks on his face and like smearing glue all over Elmer's face even more. So this obviously, all this bullying is leading to the class just like, gassing Mitchell up even more, like, you're so funny. This is great. And you see everyone just kind of like chuckling, except again for Bubbles and Blossom, who at this point, they look very disappointed, not only in their sister, but like in all of their classmates. Like, pretty sure they have like crossed arms and everything. They're like, how dare these kids? And so Miss Keene, she tells the class that that's enough once again. And she has, unfortunately, though, very little control over this room of kindergartners.
It's gone too far.
So it's gone too far. So they keep on hurling the insults, calling him a paste eater, shouting like, you eat paste. And then honestly, it gets even sadder. Like one by one, the kids start like throwing out these insults, like "you're gross," hilariously said by a kid who literally looks like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. Like he's covered in dirt and has like the little like scent clouds like over him or whatever. Yeah, it's like, you are clearly disgusting, but okay.
Both that and the fact that someone's named Mitchell Mitchelson is like, oh yes, bullying happens because something bad is going on in their lives and at home, because he's named Mitchell Mitchelson.
Mitchelson.
That means he does not have a good home life. He's definitely abused at home.
Probably. Yeah, like your parents couldn't even take the time to think of a different name for you. Other than just like, what's our last Mitchell's? Okay, just name him Mitch.
Great,
then
done.
Mitchell.
We don't even care about him.
Easy. Like sign the birth certificate real quick. Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, the kids are all like hurling these insults at little Elmer, and all the while, her dear Buttercup, she's like looking around, like, oh man, this is awesome. Like she's getting really excited by all this bullying that's going on. And with each roast that the kids give, she gets like more and more excited, to the point where eventually she just like stands up on the desk right in front of Elmer, grabs a glob of paint that's sitting on the table, and just like full on like MLB pitcher style hurls that shit right at Elmer's face. Which, by the way, this being a Powerpuff Girl, that could kill somebody. I feel like maybe she reeled it in and controlled it, but like you can see she threw this thing with some ferocity. She's winding up. But thankfully, it doesn't kill him. It's pretty bad. So thankfully, it doesn't kill Elmer, but it does smear paint all over his face. This is, unfortunately, emotionally, the last straw for Elmer. He bursts out into tears, like just crying, screaming. And Buttercup quickly turns from like this devious smirk to just a nervous frown, like, oh shit, I'm gonna get in trouble, aren't I?
Yeah.
She is. Miss Keene demands that Buttercup apologizes immediately to Elmer, saying that, you know, it's bullying like this is unlike you. Like, I know you know better, which is, oof. That's the worst thing to hear from an authority figure. Like, I know you know better. Like, oh, you're right. I do. I'm so sorry.
Oh, God, you're not mad. You're just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. So Buttercup, she tries to cover her tracks, tries to like talk herself out of it.
Girl,
which how can you? We all saw you. And she's like, I didn't mean to make him cry. So that's what she does. She takes it away from the fact that she threw something at him, and she's like,
gaslights him.
He exactly, like, he didn't have to react to my bullying that way. Like I didn't mean to make him cry. Mitch started all of this anyway.
Oh my God.
Miss Keene is not buying what Buttercup is selling.
Like, yeah, she's not.
No, she is not. She's like, apologize now. But literally, Buttercup is unable to speak the words. Like I guess she's so obsessed with like appearing cool, or like, oh, I'm a Powerpuff Girl. Like, I never do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? So she's like, I'm... What? And then she again tries to blame it on him. Like, why did you have to like cry? Like, why did you have to respond that way? And then she's eventually able to get some words out. But what she tells him is, you should have ducked. And then she's saved by the bell.
Hold her ass in detention. Kindergarten detention.
Should have. Miss Keene was a little too soft on her, I think, in this point, or in this instance. Because, yeah, the recess bell rings. Everyone just books it out of there, goes outside to play. Miss Keene walks over to Elmer, and she starts cleaning him up and telling him, like, oh, we'll deal with Buttercup later. I'll talk to her. And she tells Elmer that, you know, she reassures him what the kids did to him was really wrong. But also,
don't eat glue.
You really need to stop eating paste. She's such a good teacher. She's like, I'm looking at this on both sides. You don't deserve to be bullied, but also you need to make some changes in your life, little boy.
Yes. And also, even if they weren't bullying you, stop eating paste.
Exactly. Right. Like, I don't care if you're the most loved kid in class. Do not eat paste.
No more paste.
And this is foreign to Elmer. I guess no one at home is telling him that this is not good either. Because it's like the first time he's also hearing this. He's like, well, why? Why do I need to stop eating paste? And Miss Keen, she gets real with him. She's like, well, for one thing, it's an imitatable act. If the other kids were to see you doing it, they might want to do it too. Which, I mean,
they obviously don't.
She is exactly. It's funny because all the kids are like listening to this from the window, and when she says that, they're like, "Ew, no way!" And she like shoos them away, like, "Kids, go away." But it is also funny because it's like, yeah, I guess that's probably one of the worst reasons to eat paste when you're in kindergarten. You don't want other kindergartners to do it too. But I would also just say you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah, does she not mention how incredibly toxic this is?
Exactly. She did not get to that point yet. She just said, well, we don't want the other kids to also be doing it, which, okay, fair. She's thinking about the class as a whole. She's not just thinking about poor little Elmer. I guess whichever way you look at it. Hey, she's a teacher. She's not his mama. Okay.
Yeah, she's trying to connect with him on what might resonate. He wants to be part of the group.
Exactly. Yeah. She's trying to make him think that he's more accepted maybe than he actually is. Like, yeah, the other kids might want to do what you're doing too, Elmer. You're not like super weird. Oh, I feel so bad for this kid. So anyway, Miss Keen, she takes the bottle of paste out of Elmer's freshly cleaned hands and tells him to go outside and enjoy recess. Elmer, though, he's really sad that his paste got confiscated, and he knows, he's like, damn, man, that was my fix. And he also knows, though, that he doesn't really have anyone to play with outside. Yeah. So he just kind of like puts his head down and slowly walks out for recess. And sadly, as one would expect, Elmer, he's sitting all by himself outside underneath a tree in the playground. And as he sits there, he's muttering to himself about how angry he is at Mitch and Buttercup, and how Buttercup thinks she's so cool just because she has superpowers. Mm-hmm. And hilariously, he reaches like into his coat, like onto the inside pocket, and pulls out like an emergency flask style bottle of paste. And like opens it up and just starts like globbing it away underneath the tree as he's like angrily talking to himself.
God, Powerpuff Girls deals with addiction so many times.
They do. They wanted kids to know. Again, this is like right off of the crack is whack, like war on drugs starting, all of that messaging. Like, we got to keep it going, even in the age of the Clintons. So meanwhile, on the other side of town, because you're probably wondering, wait, didn't you say that like toxic radiation and pollution is a part of this, other than just like ingesting paste straight from a jar?
That's what it was. That's very toxic. But go on.
There is more. There's something that's going to make this paste that Elmer loves so much just even more toxic and dangerous.
Oh, no.
On the other side of the city of Townsville, we see a very active and like in process, whatever, pollutioning, whatever, manufacturing plant of some sort. It's like very indescript. I think it's like a food processing plant of some sort. And there's just like this steady stream of what appears to be toxic waste pouring out of a sewage line directly into a pond right next to this factory. So before we even go inside the factory, we can see like, oh my God, this place is dangerous. What are they doing in there? And there's also just like large clouds of, pollutants in the air, like smokestacks with flames shooting out of the tops, like the worst of the worst that you could think of.
I have so many thoughts.
Everything.
Very stressed out.
Feel free to say them.
No, I'm just stressed out because this is my entire career.
So, a sign for the plant, like, it doesn't really make sense, but I think it says like industrial children cereal cord or something, maybe corp, to be like,
this is the manufacturing plant where they make cereal.
I think so. It's weird. Like they made some spelling errors in the sign though. Like when you're watching it and you go to like look for that spot, you'll see it says like cereal cord or I don't know. It's weird. But I think what they're trying to get through is that it's some sort of, like cereal manufacturing or processing plant.
Okay. Got it.
So like I said, it doesn't really make sense, but makes it actually a little bit funnier that it's this toxic and like dangerous too. And outside of this toxic, dangerous plant, we see a toxic dump truck pull up to the factory, ready to collect the industry's daily waste. And inside of the factory, we see the quote unquote marshmallow toxic filter site. And hilariously, so like the word marshmallow is in this like colorful, whimsical lettering, and then everything else is black, like warning labels for it.
Toxic skulls around it.
Pretty much. And we see these like massive vats of toxic waste just sitting wide open, bubbling over the vats, which, like toxic waste bubbling over them. All of this just kind of like underneath this sign for the marshmallow toxic filter site.
Wow.
So there appears to be a single man overseeing this marshmallow filter site, this toxic marshmallow filter site. This one man, and he's just sitting back, enjoying his lunch, perhaps a bowl of cereal,
with his feet toxic marshmallows.
Maybe. And he's got his like feet kicked up on the control desk, and very few, if any, cares in the world. Also of note, sitting out on his control desk are these various samples of toxic waste, I guess. And of course, they're sitting just casually, they're in like vials, standing up or whatever. And of course, they're sitting right next to where his feet are propped up on the control desk. So, of course, as he enjoys his cereal, he's humming and like shaking his feet, just like, I'm on lunch. I like it. Everything is good. And I guessed it. He's shaking his feet, tapping his toes a little bit too hard, knocks over one of the toxic samples. It falls on the floor and immediately starts burning through the floor, where you see like just this neon green puddle like sizzling from the floor. The man like kind of looks at the puddle just like, whoopsies, didn't mean to do that. He takes the napkin that he's using like with his cereal, tries to just like wipe it up, like, ooh, let me get that off the floor. But really he just like smears it around even more and makes the stain bigger and covers his napkin and some toxic waste of some sort. And without thinking about it later, like after he takes a couple more bites of his cereal, he then uses the napkin to wipe his cheeks.
He's a safety inspector? This is not good. Or he's in charge of safety?
He's in charge of this, this filter site. So as soon as he does this, though, he's like, oh, shit, I did not mean to use that napkin again. Like, whoopsies. But literally no more than 1 second later, these massive like pink octopus or squid tentacles just pop out of his cheeks on either side where he was dabbing them with the napkin.
Oh no.
And he just kind of calmly responds like, ooh, that's not good. So goes to show they've probably seen this pretty often in this clearly not well regulated or monitored toxic facility.
Yep, get the EPA in here
immediately, please. So he takes his napkin, he throws it into his little waste basket, and then we see this interesting chain of events where the waste basket is then collected and dumped into that toxic dump truck that pulled up a moment ago. A fly who's flying around the grounds happens to fly into the dump truck right before the collector can close it and hop on in for his next route, for the next stop in his route. While the fly is in this dump truck, it lands eventually on the napkin and starts like sucking some of the juices out of it or whatever, and it immediately mutates and grows like 5 times the normal size and has like multiple, like 5 times as many wings. Essentially, it has 10 wings now.
Oh god,
it's very creepy looking. And what would happen to be one of the next stops for this toxic waste dump truck, but none other than Pokey Oaks Kindergarten?
It's like picking up trash from there?
Yes. So it's weird. It's labeled as like a toxic waste dump.
It's just like a
but it's also just picking
truck.
up trash from everything. So like also very problematic.
Yeah.
You're like bringing this thing like into the suburbs. It's like toxic chemical facilities are typically not zoned in the same areas that like kindergartens are or like houses for a reason.
Or anything.
Like you want to keep all of those things very separate.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. Yes. Go on.
So right as the trash collector opens up the truck to throw in the trash from Pokey Oaks Kindergarten, that mutated radioactive whatever fly, it escapes from the truck and flies free. And of course, it slowly makes its way around the kindergarten grounds, just kind of like huffing and puffing along because it's either just like straight up dying from all of this radioactivity or like all this toxic shit it just ate, or it just like isn't used to being so heavy because this fly is like slowly just buzzing through the air, kind of like clearly getting lower and lower until unfortunately it falls right in to the jar of glue that Elmer Glue is eating underneath the kindergarten's playground tree. Unfortunately, Elmer, he's still blinded by his rage towards Mitch and Buttercup, so he doesn't notice this giant neon green toxic fly landing right into his jar. And it's like right on top. So the very next handful of it that he takes and scoops out of there, it has the fly just right on mixed in. So this is gross in a lot of ways now. Not only is he eating glue, but he's about to eat a fly, and he's about to eat a toxic fly.
Oh God.
He shoves that shit right on in his mouth while he's sitting all alone. Nope. And shortly after, Mitch, he sees him. He's with the twins, Floyd and Lloyd. He sees him over there eating the glue. So he tells him, Mitch, he goes over and tells Elmer to get up. And Elmer, he slowly gets on his feet, very nervous about what Mitch is going to do to him next. Mm-hmm. And Mitch, very sadly, he just, as soon as Elmer gets up, he just pushes him right back down.
Oh my God, Mitch.
It's so sad, actually, to watch. So Mitch again then tells him, he's like, get up, paste eater. And Buttercup, she's watching this from afar with her sisters, and Buttercup, she just laughs like, when will he ever learn? Which, God, these people are terrible. Okay.
This is not the takeaway, Buttercup.
No, it's not. When will Mitch learn to stop bullying? She sees Buttercup laughing and she threatens to tell Miss Keene about all of this, to which Buttercup is like, I'm not doing anything. I always get blamed for stuff. But meanwhile, before Blossom can get Miss Keene, we go back to see Elmer being bullied by Mitch and the twins. And Elmer starts to cough up this like neon green tinted paste right in front of Mitch and starts getting some of it on him as he's coughing, which is gross.
Yeah.
And we then see the neon glue slowly start to cover Elmer's entire body to the point where he is just essentially like a standing glob of glue with glasses that has this like neon green tinge to it.
Oh God.
And then even more terrifyingly, we see Elmer's glue-covered body start to grow, just like slowly getting bigger and bigger until it reaches probably a solid like 200 to 300 feet tall, like towering over the school, over all of the trees, massive.
Oh.
And so Elmer, from eating this radioactive fly and this glue, has now turned into a giant paste monster that literally is just looks like him.
His
300
form.
feet tall, covered in paste. He's finally met it. This is his final stage of like the evolution.
His metamorphosis.
Like, finally. Yeah. So The paste monster, Elmer the paste monster, starts growling and gurgling these massive bubbles of paste that are like just coming out of his mouth and like popping everywhere and landing on the students. And he's like, oh my gosh, I've got some power here. I'm going to get back at all these kids who have been bullying me. So he begins to like pick them up one by one, just like with his fingers, because, you know, they're all still out on the playground for recess. So he's just like going over the playground one by one to the point where he has like a different kid stuck on each finger.
Oh my God.
In grace, he then like flicks them off.
Those kids are dead.
That's what I said. That's what I said. I was like, oh,
there's dead children in this episode. Oh my God.
I will say, so there's 5 people on his fingers. 2 of them are the twins, and 1 of them is Mitch. The other, okay, we see what happens to those 3. The other 2, I think we can assume are dead. So Lloyd and Floyd, he flicks them and they get stuck on an airplane, Grace, that is passing overhead.
They're gonna die.
They're gonna die.
If it wasn't instant.
They're not dead yet, but they're gonna die very soon. And Mitch gets stuck on top of actually just the flagpole at school. So he's not in immediate danger, I guess, but still, like, I don't know, if everyone else dies, who's gonna save them?
Yeah, exactly. Who's gonna call the fire department to get that ladder in there?
Exactly. But yeah. So Elmer, the other 2 that were on the other 2 fingers, those 2 are dead. I think we can assume. So at this point, Buttercup springs into action and attempts to hit Elmer to stop him, but he straight up just backhands her and sends her flying into a wall covered in radioactive glue.
Yikes.
Blossom and Bubbles, they stand up. They're like, okay, now we got to try to fight this guy. And, or no, actually, sorry. No, my bad. They give Buttercup a taste of her own medicine first. She's trying to struggle and get free from the pace. Like, guys, help me. We have to stop him. And they're like, please, this is your fault. These bullies deserve what they get for picking on poor little Elmer.
Flash to Floyd and Lloyd smacked into an airplane, like dying slowly from lack of oxygen and altitude.
Oh my God, just for pointing at him, because they never actually, I mean, they bullied him, but they never like physically did it. Mitch and Buttercup deserve the worst of the worst, but no, Floyd and Lloyd are literally like, they're dying. Imagine being on that plane and just seeing like kindergartners just
but also like
they would have died on impact, honestly.
They would have died on impact, and then like wouldn't the like sudden like smacking of 2 forces on an airplane suddenly like jar the airplane? Like what if they like hit the wing off or like got caught in the engine, all of a sudden now you have a plane crash, like 200 more people are suddenly dead?
I should ask, this is random, I should ask Austin, my brother, this. He helps design test engines for planes, and like part of it, it's like the engines that they throw birds into. It's like he designs the engines like where you throw birds into them or the turbines to see if they'll like still work even after a bird like gets into it.
Okay, Austin.
Like, hey, Austin,
if 2 6-year-olds, you know, like math problem of like if 2 trains heading for San Diego leave at this time and this time, at this speed and this speed. If 2 6-year-olds get hurled by a 200-foot pace monster to Boeing 747, would the plane also crash?
Would it crash? I mean, it would at least bounce it off of its like flight path, I'm sure. They weren't expecting that's extra weight that wasn't accounted for.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Man.
Good.
Yeah. So Elmer,
so they deserved it.
Yeah. Oh God. Anyway, so Blossom is like telling Buttercup that these bullies deserve this cruel fate, being hurled through the sky. But Blossom is interrupted by the screams of their dear loving teacher, Miss Keene, who is stuck in Elmer's clutches. Elmer's like lifting her up off the ground. And at this point, Buttercup is like, well, is she a bully? Lol, no, she's not. Good
oh my
point,
God, Buttercup.
So Elmer, at this point, after he lifts up Miss Keene, he then lifts up his foot and just steps on the school, smashing it entirely. Hilariously, you hear all the students like, yay!
Now they love him.
Now they love him. But Blossom and Bubbles look at each other and they're like, he's gone crazy.
He's gone too far.
He's gone too far. So also, I like to think that Elmer actually was trying to protect Miss Keene because she was in the school. Exactly. And then he smashed it. He was like, I don't want to kill her. So in a way, I'm like, all right, Elmer, I'm going to give him a plus on that one. Even though
he's like conscious of his actions.
Right. Sure. He's really only going for the bullies here.
Yeah.
So at this point, though, Blossom and Bubbles, they fly up to save Miss Keene. But Elmer literally throws a punch, like his fist detaches from his hand, this fist of glue, and it punches right at Blossom and Bubbles and gets them stuck. Oh, and it is the fist holding Miss Keene, by the way. So it gets them all stuck on the same wall that Buttercup is stuck to. So we've got all three Powerpuff Girls and Miss Keene stuck. And at this point, Elmer like kind of looks around like, okay, I think my job here is done. And so he storms off towards the city of Townsville. My job here is done, not my job in general. I still have the city to destroy.
Okay.
So as Elmer stomps off, leaving a gluey trail towards the city of Townsville, Blossom tells Buttercup that all of this is only happening because she wouldn't apologize to him after she was bullying him. And Buttercup at this point, before taking full fault for all of this mess, she has a light bulb moment and is like, oh shit, that's right. Duh. We have heat ray vision, you guys.
Oh my God.
Duh. So she blasts the heat ray vision. It unsticks her Blossom and Bubbles. But hilariously, not Miss Keene.
You stay here, girl.
Exactly. Miss Keene's like, girls, he's going to destroy the whole town. So they fly off to take down Elmer, and Miss Keene's still stuck to the wall, and she's like, yay.
Oh, Miss Keene.
Funny.
God, teachers don't get paid enough.
I had to watch this like a couple of times to write this, and I laugh so hard every time at that. How she's just like, yay, stuck there. Like it would have taken no extra time at all for them to unstick her, but whatever. So by the time that the Powerpuff Girls make it to the city of Townsville, it has already pretty much been completely destroyed. The buildings are all crumbled. There's like radioactive paste everywhere. And Elmer is still just like knocking over anything else that he can find. So he spots the Powerpuff Girls flying closer and decides to like pick up a couple of school buses, I think at first to throw at them. But Bubbles and Blossom see them in time and they like swerve out of the way. And Buttercup doesn't see that he's holding them, so she isn't paying attention and just like flies she just flies directly into a school bus, Grace. Like it makes a dink sound like like girl is concussed, no doubt,
for sure.
And she just like slowly falls out of the sky and lands on the sidewalk, just knocked out cold. Damn. So at this point, Blossom, she's pissed off. She's seen enough. She like points at Elmer like, now you've done it. Blood is thicker than glue. She says that. She says that. AKA, she now has justification to beat that ass. She's like, all right, you fucked up my sister. I'll fuck you up now too, buddy. Yeah.
Also, glue's pretty thick.
It is thick. I mean, like figuratively, I guess blood is thicker than glue, but literally not at all. I hope not.
No, it's not.
That's like super what's the word? Coagulated.
Well, yeah. She's definitely wrong. They're kindergartners. They don't know yet.
Yeah, they don't know. She's speaking figuratively, Grace. She's But yeah,
this is the problem I have with this episode, not the glue monster.
Not the glue monster. Not all the toxic waste.
God.
You loved it a second ago, and then you thought about it, and you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
I know, it's pretty good. She did a good job. I take it back.
All good. Blossom, she's just trying to be clever. Didn't work, girl. She'll learn next time. So, Blossom and Bubbles, they charge towards Elmer, but unsurprisingly, they just immediately get stuck in his chest because it's made of paste. Yes. So they're like screaming for Buttercup's help, hoping to wake her up. And eventually she does. But when she flies towards Elmer, when Buttercup does, she pretty much just realizes, like, wait, what am I doing? I'm just going to get trapped in this pasty flesh too. So she has to like kind of sit back and think about what she's going to do before she just fucks up again and then like makes all three of them get stuck. Okay. Pretty smart. She's finally thinking ahead. So as Bubbles and Blossom, though, they start sinking deeper into Elmer's chest. They keep just telling him, like, you know what you have to do, Buttercup. You know what you have to do to defeat Elmer. But Buttercup, she refuses to follow their suggestion. And she's like, no, I think I can still get him. I can still fight him. So she hits him with her laser vision to take off one of his arms, seeing that worked before. Okay. But his arm just immediately grows back. And so then she covers herself in flour, like a Scooby-Doo move of some sort. There's like all these piles of bags of flour just sitting on the sidewalk outside of this nearby bakery, whatever. She flies into them, covering herself in flour, like, haha, I'm flour, you're glue. Now I won't stick to you or whatever. But Elmer, he's smart, he's quick thinking, he's a nerd. Remember, he has another trick up his sleeve. So as Buttercup is flying up to him, he does this really cool thing, like forms a hole, this massive hole in his stomach, essentially like separates his body, and Buttercup just flies right through it and like sends her off guard. So again, proving there really isn't any other way to defeat this monster other than by following Blossom and Bubble's suggestion. She knows what she has to do. But Buttercup, she's unwilling to take any fault for all of this or to like just suck it up and apologize. Ownership. She's like, no, anything but that. I refuse. Like, dude, suck it up. She's so fucking lame. Just apologize to this kid. Yeah. But after yelling no like 5 more times, like, no, I won't do it. She gives in, finally. I don't know. I guess it's probably just seeing her sisters literally dying or something like that makes her be like, of glue. Okay. Yeah, basically. She's like, okay, fine. I'm sorry. So she actually goes up to Elmer. She apologizes for picking on him and calling him a paste eater. And Elmer, this moves him and he accepts it. He like wipes gluey tears from his gluey eyes. And it's kind of weird. He like kicks Blossom and Bubbles out of his chest. Ew. It's like weird. I don't like the way that the animators decided to draw this, but whatever. Anyway, and he just like kind of gives them back to Buttercup, and he sniffs and he thanks Buttercup, saying that that's all he wanted was an apology from her. So then we go back to Pokey Oaks Kindergarten and we see them working hand in hand, the Powerpuff Girls and Elmer, to reconstruct the city of Townsville and the school.
Is he still a glue monster?
He's still a glue monster.
Okay.
Essentially, all you see now is like big clumps of glue in the middle of the building. So like where he ripped them in half, just pasting them together. And he's just like licking the roof of the kindergarten and then just like puts it back in place. Like, all right, job's done here. And yes, he is still a glue monster. So at this point, Buttercup, she just like thanks Elmer for helping him glue everything back together. And Elmer bashfully tells Buttercup, like, hey, you're pretty cool. And Buttercup, she's like, Elmer, you and me should stick together. And that's the end. They become besties.
And then do we pan over to the flagpole in Mitchell-Mitchellson's, like,
still
just
there,
impaled by it?
We see like a breaking news report about a plane that just crashed or some shit. And two 6-year-olds were found pasted on the outside of it.
There's like also I think like what made Buttercup actually apologize is she saw like the pinky and thumb children like dead in the middle of town when he flicked them. And so that's what finally made her say sorry.
She was like, okay, I'm sorry. I might have got these kids killed.
Yeah, you will murder my sisters. All right.
Okay, you've already murdered these two.
Wow.
And many other people too, because he's literally just like ripping buildings off, throwing them around.
Also, after the newsflash of like the plane crash, you'll see a newsflash of like full hazmat suit people like SWAT team into the like toxic facility to get like this Kraken like human who's now probably full Kraken form like attacking, but they're like Elmer. They're like skipping into like the sunset, and it's just like a Kraken monster.
Now you see that like on the other side of town. Yeah,
that's in a different county though, so it's not our problem.
It's not our problem. No. Sorry, they'll figure that one out.
That's the feds' problem now.
Yeah, yeah, like massive like military helicopters just like surrounding it.
Like all the other employees are like now small Krakens, like his minions, but they're all marshmallow Krakens.
Maybe this answers actually where all the monsters are coming from, though. They're all coming from this one toxic waste facility. This damn actually no, I keep calling it that. It's a damn cereal plant. Manufacturing plant. All of the toxic waste that's generated from there is creating all these crazy monsters. Every monster is a different employee of that company who accidentally used a napkin to clean up a toxic waste sample and then reused it on themselves, or like got it on their like lab jacket or something, or lab coat, and then turned into a snake beast. I don't know.
Perfect. Great. I love it. We've figured it out. We've solved the puzzle.
That is it.
Wow. Great job.
Yep. Thank you. Another fun episode with just a one-off villain slash anti-hero. Maybe he was driven to madness.
It's complicated.
Little Elmer Screw. Yes. But also
just real quick, like Blossom and Bubbles also are like obviously being painted as like the good ones and the heroes, but they also did nothing to stop the bullying.
No,
they were just bystanders. They were just like, don't do it. But they could have stepped in to stand up for Elmer.
I think that's why Elmer was fine with gluing them to a wall and perhaps eating them when they decided to come after him again. Yeah. I think, at first he was like, I'll spare you guys. I'll just glue you and I'll flick you through the freaking sky. But you guys didn't stop the bullying. You didn't bully me actively, but pretty much all they did was cross their arms and like mean mug everyone who was bullying them. But that's not quite enough when it's like the whole class is doing it.
Yes, exactly.
What did they think? Like, were they trying to like scare the kids into thinking they would shoot laser beams at them? If they didn't stop bullying, like really, you guys are gonna kill all of us?
They're not even paying attention to them. They're focused on the bullying. Like, if you're silent in the background, it's not going to do anything. This is a deep metaphor.
Not a good look for any of them. It is. Don't bully kids. It's not good. It's not good. Although, thank God, I don't think I ever witnessed any bullying like that bad.
Yeah.
Especially as a kindergartner. I feel like kindergarten is like the time when kids are the nicest. Maybe like third or fourth grade when you start like turning into a little shit. But
not like this.
Yeah. Anyway, so the true crime today, bullying. First of all, second of all, after that, not properly maintaining that cereal factory and all the toxic waste that it generated.
Precisely.
So, like you said, that's an issue for the Fed.
Yep.
Congress will bring them in maybe for some subcommittee oversight hearing.
Hearings.
Yeah, we'll see. So. Maybe we'll talk about that more next week with more oversight hearings. I don't know. At least for the Powerpuff Girls, all the damage and destruction they cause. But until then, when Grace is back on deck next week, who should the listeners and viewers tell about this podcast, Grace?
I think if you were bullied back in the day, you should tell your childhood bullies about this podcast. And be like, I forgive you because clearly something was going on in your home life that caused you to do this. Bullies aren't created out of thin air. You're going through some stuff. I am a mature adult now. But I would like you to listen to this episode to know what I would have liked to do to you when I was a child. The consequences that could have happened when you bullied. So tell your, only if you've healed from the trauma of being bullied, tell your childhood bully about this podcast.
And I guess whether you've healed or haven't healed, what you should also do is find out who your bully's enemy is and tell them. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And then grow stronger and then bully that bully.
And then bully the childhood bully. And then, just keep the cycle going. What is the world without a little bit of tough love and bullying every now and again?
We do not endorse this message.
We do not at all. We say it, but we don't endorse it.
Nope.
We do not walk the walk.
Never. Great. I love it.
Until next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.